Hello and welcome to our program Where God Weeps. The Syrian Orthodox Church traces its history back to 37 AD, to the Apostle Peter. Today, the Church numbers about 3 million, with the majority of its faithful in India. To tell us more about the story of the Syrian Orthodox Church, it is my privilege to welcome Metropolitan Mor Gregorius Yohanna Ibrahim, the Metropolitan of Aleppo, Syria. Welcome and thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you.
Your Eminence, can you tell me a little bit about the story of the Syrian Orthodox Church?
Well, to make it very short, because
Which is not easy.
It's a long history. It's a long history. It starts exactly from the year 37 in Antioch. And then, of course, through the centuries, this church suffered a lot. My church, we can put some notes on the history and say that from the 37 until 518, it was one united church. So whenever you speak about the Syrian Orthodox Church, you have to go back to the history and say something about the church history of Antioch.
Syria, land of the apostles and of martyrs, a land that gave the world the word Christianity. It was here that the prophet Elijah was sent by God to anoint Hazael as king of Aram. According to tradition, it is from this land that Elijah was taken up to heaven to escape the pursuers sent by Queen Jezebel. The holy prophet Elijah is venerated in Syria to this day. This cave is the place from which he is said to have disappeared on a chariot of fire. People believe the hoof marks still visible in the stone were made by horses harnessed to his chariot. How covered in glory art thou, Elijah, by your miracles, and who can boast to be your equal? You who were taken up in a whirlwind flame on a chariot harnessed to horses of fire. With the coming of Christians, a place of worship was built where the faithful venerated the prophet, while in the 9th and 10th centuries monks added splendor to the walls of the church by covering them with frescoes. This land also witnessed the miracle experienced by St. Paul in his conversion to Christianity on the road to Damascus. Suddenly, while he was traveling to Damascus, there came a light from heaven. He fell to the ground, and then he heard a voice saying, "Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me?" "Who are you, Lord?" he asked, and the voice answered, "I am Jesus, and you are persecuting me." After he had spent only a few days with the disciples in Damascus, he began preaching in the synagogues, "Jesus is the Son of God." Some time passed, and the Jews worked out a plot to kill him. To make sure of killing him, they kept watch on the gates day and night. But when it was dark, the disciples took him and let him down from the top of the wall, lowering him in a basket. Subsequent to St. Paul, these lands witnessed the spreading of the good news by St. Thecla, one of St. Paul's pupils.
St. Thecla was St. Paul's convert. She came from Turkey, from the city of Iconium. She was a pagan. She became a Christian following St. Paul's missionary work in Turkey. Because Christians were persecuted by pagans there, she came here to Syria to preach in Ma'alua.
The region around Malula is unique, as here the local population still preserved an Aramaic dialect to this day, a dialect that is considered to be a close relative of the language that our Lord himself spoke.
Abunah, Chibismu, Ichkattash Ishmach, Yithele Mulkach, Yithkan Titbaile, Echbishmu, Yib Alar'a. أبيح لحمة أخو اليوم وغفر ليه تيوثة
إخ من غفر تيمخت عمينا ولوفش تخلمناح بجور بيوثة بس نجينا مشيذا آمين.
Aramaic is still spoken here. The inhabitants became Muslims, but the fact that they still use this language indicates that earlier on they were Christians. They kept the language, but converted to Islam because they needed to gain employment. Syria is a Christian country. It was not until the 7th century that its conversion to Islam began, either by force or by conviction or compromise or by other means. Syria did not adopt Islam in one go altogether, and this is why we have villages that are wholly Christian.
Islam is the dominant religion in Syria, practiced by 90% of the population. Muslims conquered the country in the first half of the 7th century, with Arabian forces appearing along the southern frontier even before the death of the Prophet Muhammad in the year 632. The dominance of Islam today, however, obscures the historical religious roots of Christianity, which lie deep in the heritage of this land. This land, the cradle of Christianity, is the source from which sprang many of the Church Fathers, wise men and theologians who taught and furthered the Christian faith. Despite common roots, the Oriental Christian Church has since separated and divided such that today it is made up of 6 different rites and 9 churches. The largest of these groups are represented by the Greek Melkite Orthodox and Greek Melkite Catholics. Across the centuries, many of these churches have entered into communion with Rome, while others, such as the Orthodox churches, have, since the Second Vatican Council, been recognized by the Catholic Church as truly sister churches.
Often within a single family, one brother might be a Catholic while another Orthodox, or cousins might belong to different churches, yet remain one family. We have villages that converted to Catholicism as recently as 50 or 100 years ago. These people, having asked to be united with Rome, feel themselves Catholic, while continuing to maintain an unchanged religious and secular way of life.
Despite these historical divisions, daily interaction between the churches is evident on many levels and is a sign of hope for the re-establishment of the communion of churches.
Recently, together with the newly arrived Orthodox bishop, who is very open and who seeks contact with us in a spirit of dialogue, we have started to prepare a program of Jubilee Year celebrations, as well as for the Week of Prayer for Peace. There is, for example, a joint Catholic and Orthodox pilgrimage planned to Old Antioch, the starting point for Christianity. For it is indeed here that Christians were for the first time referred to as Christians.
You have stated that Christians are better off in Syria than in anywhere else in the Middle East. What did you mean by this? What is the status of Christians in Syria?
Well, this is one of the realities. Not because I come from Syria, not because I lived and I live in Syria, but because the reality is that when you compare Syria with other countries in the Middle East, you feel that in Syria, first of all, the Christians, all the Christians are considered as the real citizens of Syria. We are not newcomers, we are not foreigners, we are not strangers in the eyes of the Muslims. For example, whenever you speak about Syrian Orthodox, Syrian, we say Syrian, oh, those are the people of Syria. So they go back to the history and they know that our roots
are as deep as theirs.
Yeah, yes, in Syria. And this was continuously in the life of the Christians. So we have our rights, full rights. And I can give you examples. One is whenever we want to build a church, it's very easy thing. We are equal to the mosque when you come to the taxes, to the electricity, to other things, and then no problem to appoint somebody as a patriarch or as a bishop or as
without
a priest.
Interference.
No interference from the government and the life of the churches.
In fact, you went further on to state that if Syria was not there, Christians would be finished.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean that if this view, if this vision, if this good contacts, etc., don't exist in Syria, it means that the other choice was that the Christians could use other countries or could leave or could be immigrated, etc. So it means that the Christianity could be finished. So I think that Syria, not now, not only in this regime, in the whole history, was one of the good examples.
Became a refuge for Christians almost.
Became a refuge? No, because we are not refugees.
No, in the sense of other Christians coming
other Christians,
from
yes,
other countries in the Middle East.
Yes, that's right. Not for all the Christians, because as I told you, we feel that our roots are in the history, deepest history of the country. But whenever other Christians come from other countries, they are most welcome. Like the Armenians, they were welcomed by the Muslims and by the state itself. And until now, they can use their language. They have the privilege of developing their traditions, etc., and they live in the country as good citizens.
So, are there any day-to-day restrictions that Christians encounter living their Christian faith in Syria?
Living their Christian faith, of course, it could be. In the history, you cannot imagine that all the citizens are on the same level of knowledge and concept, you see. We can see that some are fanatic, some are ignorant, etc., you see. But if you ask me a special date, I think you cannot find it. You cannot find it. We have some problems. I must acknowledge some individual problems.
For example?
For example, the question of mixed marriages.
What happens?
It's a problem because it's not only our problem, it's even a problem for the Muslims, for the state, because they don't know how to accommodate two persons from two different religions whenever they want to get married, to accommodate them, keeping the rights of their religions. For example, in any case, if a Christian, a male, will marry a Muslim, he should change his religion.
It's obligatory.
Yes, it's obligatory. Yes, it's obligatory. But they don't know how to change this rule. It's not written in the Constitution. This is very important. It's one of the traditions which we cannot change it. But who knows? This is one of the restrictions, for example.
What other restrictions might there be?
Well, other restrictions, in fact, we don't have. Of course, we look forward to see that mass media could be used also by the Christians as it is used by the Muslims. For example, we have very short times and rare occasions where Christians can use mass media during Christmas or Easter or some other programs. This is another restriction. I think mass media is very important to be free, and the Christians can use it as the Muslims. For example, every Friday you can hear the sermon from any mosque, which is good because you have to educate your people religiously. But we cannot do it as Christians. Maybe this could be also discussed sometimes with those who are responsible.
What about conversions?
Yes, conversion also, it's another problem. It's forbidden by law.
So a young man, if he came to you, said, I'm a Muslim, I would like to become a Christian, how would you respond?
I respond immediately that I cannot do it. I cannot do it. And this
for the safety of that individual, or also legally, is there any concern for that, for the individual?
Well, for both. For the safety of the individual, of course. It's not good to know that we are converting people from Islam to Christianity according to the atmosphere of Syria. And secondly, because we cannot do it by constitution, by law. It's forbidden. So immediately I have to tell him or to tell her, please, in Syria, this is forbidden. You can choose and go to another country like Lebanon or Europe. You can do it, but in Syria, no, we don't do it.
In Catholic circles, we speak, if you will, more about a dialogue of life as a tool of reconciliation. Is this also the case for the Syrian Orthodox community in its relationships with, for example, the Muslim community and others, this sense of a dialogue of life?
Yes, it's the same, because the dialogue, the theological dialogue, it's impossible for both sides. We don't have experts who can start with this theological dialogue, but we have other kinds of dialogue, as you said. We have dialogue of life, we have dialogue of work, we have dialogue of experience. And we try to strengthen our relations through these kinds of dialogue. For example, dialogue of life is very important for us in Syria, and we practice it every moment, every hour, every day. And especially when you come to the religious feasts or Ramadan. You see that in Syria, really all the Christians are involved, how to show their friendship and good relations with the Muslims. They participate in all these different feasts. And then even in the national occasions, I myself, I invite Muslims twice, 3, 4 times every Ramadan to come to my house and eat and celebrate this Ramadan. And then almost every day I'm invited. So this is one kind of dialogue of life. And then if you come to our institutions, the private schools, the hospitals, the dispensaries, hostels, everything which belongs to the church is open. Old aged home, orphanage, open for everybody. And we not ask them to participate. We really invite them to be with us. If you come to any private school, you will find that in the same class you have maybe the majority are Muslims, and the school belongs to the church. This means that we are somehow involving our people to feel really that dialogue of life is there in their hearts, in their minds, in their visions, in their future, and we believe that dialogue of work is the same thing, dialogue of experience. When we come to the history, how we defended the nation, the people, all together, and how we come together whenever we have any problem, you see. So this is something which we use it, we practice it in our lives.
You are the representative for the Syrian Orthodox Church on the World Council of Churches. What are your hopes for this ecumenical dialogue and the anticipation of this dialogue?
Well, first of all, the choice of being a member of the World Council of Churches. I spent almost 18 years as a member of the Central Committee. The choice was not to be isolated in Syria or in other parts of the world. It's not only the World Council. I must tell you that we are members of other regional and national councils in all over. In the Middle East, we have the Middle East Council of Churches. In America, we have the National Council of Churches. In Europe as well. So this was the choice of the church to be active in these different church councils for many reasons. One is to avoid any isolation. Secondly, to learn something from the experiences of other churches. And thirdly, to be active in how to bring something new through our traditions and beliefs, etc. I think that being a member of the World Council of Churches gave us an opportunity to start with bilateral dialogues with different parts of different churches. For example, through the World Council of Churches, we started our dialogue between two families, two Orthodox families, the Orthodox with the Byzantine tradition and the Oriental Orthodox family. From there it started. And then through the World Council of Churches, we had other possibilities of being in charge with other churches. The challenges, of course, when you feel that you are not recognized by the others and you don't recognize the others, it means that this kind of reciprocal knowledge, it's not there, it doesn't exist, which is not good for the church. So this is another way how to go to your history, to your heritage, to your tradition, and to try to develop them, because you cannot depend on something which was from the 5th century, 6th century, etc. You have to know that changes are there in the history. So we learned a lot from the World Council of Churches and from other kinds of dialogue, for example, with the Catholic Church.
I was going to ask you, you knew very well Pope John Paul II, you met him 10 times. What was your impression of this Pope?
Well, first of all, if we go to the Vatican II, I think this council was an important event for us also, because from there we started to have good relations with the Catholic Church. I don't like to go back to the history and speak about Chalcedon, but when the Vatican invited my church and other Orthodox churches to be present, we immediately reacted and we sent 2 observers for Vatican II. One of them is now the present Patriarch, His Holiness Mark Riedemann I, who is today the head of the church. So from there, the relations started to become very well, very good. I myself, I knew the late His Holiness Pope John Paul II, and I met him several times in different occasions. And I knew him as a great man, as a man of dialogue, as a man who opened his heart not only for the Christians. I was in Assisi in '86, and I am one of those who follow up the event of Assisi until now with the community of Sant'Egidio, and I knew how it was important to think about the others, to meet the others, to hear the others, to see the others. And John Paul II was a man who wanted to share everything in his church with other churches and other religions. And I believe that in the history, we need from time to time people, leaders like John Paul II, because this man opened many possibilities for different religions and different churches to think about their relations with the other.
What about Pope Benedict XVI? Have you had an occasion to meet him?
Yes, I met him twice in two different occasions. Of course, it was not possible to speak with him, but I shook hand with him in the Vatican. Well, for us, Cardinal Ratzinger is very important because he was behind John Paul II. And of course, if you come to his views and ideas about dialogue, I think the future will show that he is a man of dialogue also. I know from his relations with the Syrian church that he was very moderate and open, and he wanted to do something through different documents. And we hope that, it's very new now, too early to say something about him, but I think that the Pope Benedict XVI is a great man also, and he is from the school of John Paul II, so he should do something.
Your Eminence, thank you very much for having been with us today and for sharing your experiences about the situation of the Syrian Orthodox Church in Syria. And we continue to pray for your country and for the development of Christianity in the Middle East.
Thank you. And I hope that those from Syria especially who live in the United States and Canada and other parts of the world who will watch me, they will know that, in fact, this is the message given from not only from the Syrian Orthodox Church, from other Christian churches to them, that Syria is a tolerant country, is a place where really the model of being together and the good relations between not only Christians, but even Christian Muslim religions.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for having been with us today. And if you'd like to know more information about the Syrian Orthodox Church, I would encourage you to consider the information posted at the end of this program. And I look forward to seeing you next time on Where God Weeps.